Excellent. Okay. So how are you with your unit circle? How comfortable are you with determining things like sine and cosine on the unit circle there?
Um, I'm not actually too comfortable. I struggle with
Okay.
the unit circle.
Got it. So let's actually jump back and talk about how to do a couple of these unit circle things before we jump into a question here. So there's a couple of things that you really want to know right away. You want to know that this point is 1, 0, and this point is 0, comma 1. And then there's really three places in the first quadrant that you need to know. Do you know either the angles and degree or radians for any of those here?
I know the first one is 30, the second one is 45, and the third one is 60.
Okay. And how about in radian? Any comfort level with that?
Um, I can't remember the radians.
Okay, so real quick here, just because you might have to do this, to go from degree to radian, you multiply by pi divided by 180. Okay, now obviously it'd be good if you had these down, but 30 times pi over 180, you can see that 30 over 180 is 1/6. This becomes pi divided by 6. And we don't know what you'll be given in on the test, whether it be degree radian or something in between. So the other ones here are pi over 4 and pi over 3. Do you remember any of the x and y pairs out there at any of these points?
No.
Okay, so the one thing that might help here is to visualize a triangle. I don't know if you want to try to memorize these. It could be overwhelming. The first one here is the square root of 3 over 2 comma 1/2. And sometimes students are unsure, well, how do I know which one goes first and which one goes second? If you make a decent drawing, you can see that the x value here of this, the sort of the base of this triangle is larger than 1/2. And that's why it's the square root of 3 over 2, because it's not the 1/2. You can also, if you do a really good job of drawing it, you can see that height there pretty close to 1/2 if you've drawn it well. I've not drawn it great. Then you might also remember that the one in this up position up here at the top is basically the flip of those for similar reasons. It's basically the triangle is flipped, and then the one in the middle is the where the values are the same. So at a minimum, you have to know the first quadrant really well, like the way you know your multiplication or your exponents. You just know this really, really well. So like before throwing even a problem in front of you, like you said, you're not very comfortable at all. I mean, they're not testing like extreme trigonometry. They're testing, quick, what is the sine of this angle? What's the cosine of this angle, sort of thing.
Mhm.
So we can do kind of some worksheet practice here where I basically ask you for some of these. Now let me send you over a reference sheet that could be useful. I'll do that through the chat here. Now, have you taken geometry already?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I sent over a reference sheet. The unit circle, I think, is on page 3. You're welcome to have that up here, but let's do some problems here. So let's say I asked you for the sine of 30 plus the cosine of 90. Okay, and these are in degrees here, and you're welcome to look at that reference sheet if you need to. Can you tell me the value of either of these, please? And it's okay if you're not sure. I'm just sort of going to throw it out there and see.
Okay.
So x is the cosine value and y is the sine value at that point.
Okay.
So like, for example, if we go back to our unit circle here, sine of 30 is the y value here. So that would be 1/2.
Okay.
That's where I'm trying to gauge your comfort level with any of this. Cosine of 90 is the x value at this point at the top. What would that be?
That would be cosine is the y value.
Cosine is the x value. The x value.
X value. Okay.
Yes.
Then 1.
X value.
Zero.
Yeah. So it's real easy to miss or use the wrong ones, because if this were a multiple choice answer, And on the ACT, there's 5 answers, but generally, you might see things like 0, 1/2, 1 and 3/2, and all the possible mistakes could be there. Okay.
Okay.
So if you've got that reference sheet pulled up here, I'll just snip it in as well. I would recommend, and you can find blank unit circles out on the web. If you're more of a TikTok person, you can go out there and find videos to remember how to remember this stuff. You have to know this really well, like at least the first quadrant. That's worth memorizing, not the rest of it, but this for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do a little bit more here. Do you have this? Did you get this up in front of you? Because I'm gonna ask you some more questions about it.
I'm getting it up in
Okay.
front of me right now.
All right. Okay, so let's have you try another problem here. Let's say I want the secant of pi over 3. Okay, so secant is related to cosine. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, so secant is really 1 over cosine pi over 3. So everything goes back to your ability to know what's in the first quadrant there. Can you tell me what the cosine of pi over 3 is from that first quadrant? It's the x value at that first position.
Cosine of pi over 3.
Mhm.
You said x value or y
Yes,
value?
yeah, cosine is always the x value.
Okay.
Y is the sine
1/2.
value. It is 1/2. Good. Do you remember how to reduce a fraction like this, fraction within a fraction?
No.
Okay, so you will multiply top and bottom by the reciprocal, and that cancels the bottom. And then up top, you can treat the 1 as really 1 over 1. So times 2 over 1, so it just becomes 2 here.
Okay.
All right, so let's do a couple more here. Maybe we'll switch topics here in a minute. Let's do the tangent of pi over 4. Tangent of pi over 4. Do you remember tangent in terms of sine and cosine?
Yeah.
So tangent is sine over cosine. Some students prefer to remember it as y over x. Like you have to choose what you think is best for you. Go ahead and tell me those values on the unit circle, please.
Square root of 2 over 2.
Okay.
And also square root of 2 over 2.
Yes. Any idea what this reduces to?
Hold on, I'm just getting it down.
Okay. So what would like 6 over 6 reduce to?
1.
1, because they're the same on the top and bottom. Are these the same on the top and the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it reduces to 1.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's do here. Let's go back to just doing some basic ones here. Let's do the cosine squared of 0 minus the cosine squared of 30 degrees. Okay. So to do a problem like this one, you have to first get the value of cosine at 0. And then the square really is on the outside. Like this is a rewrite step to do this, but in the test, it would be presented in the top. They'd want you to know that you'd have to know that you first find the cosine of 0 and then square it. Same thing with this over here, cosine of 30 degrees and then square it.
Okay.
All right, so tell me, you can look at your reference sheet there. What is the cosine of 0?
0.
Cosine is the x value.
Oh, okay. 1.
1 squared. How about the cosine of 30 degrees?
square root 3/2.
Good. Okay, now we're going to square that as well. So on the left here, 1 squared is 1. On the right, again, just kind of getting a feel for your comfort level, some of these types of problems. Do you remember how to reduce something like this when it's to the power of 2?
No.
So you actually squared both the top and the bottom.
Okay.
Okay, now on the top, the square undoes the square root, so it becomes 3/4. 1 minus 3/4 like that.
Okay.
What does this reduce to when you subtract?
1/4.
1/4. Good. Okay. Let's have you try one on your own here, please. Let's have you try sine squared 60 degrees minus sine squared 30 degrees. So when I ask you to try one on your own, what I'm really hoping you'll do is work it out as far as you can and ask questions if you feel like you're not sure or if you want to confirm anything. But all I've done is give you, a different trig function, different angles, but you're still going to the unit circle, getting that value. You're going to square it. You're going to square it and subtract. So take a minute or two, see what you can come up with on that one.
Okay. Would it be 1/2?
All right, so final answer is 1/2. Let's go through it together. See what we come up with here. That sounds pretty good. Just doing this in case you want to work it out later. So sine of 60 is the square root of 3/2 squared.
Mhm.
Minus sine of 30 is 1/2. These are the y values squared. So it's 3/4 minus 1/4, which is in fact 1/2. Very good. Okay. So I mentioned these earlier. There's a couple of reciprocal relationships. Excuse me for just a moment. Okay. So tangent's one of them. Tangent is sine over cosine. You know that one already.
Mhm.
Secant, though, is another one you might need to know. That's 1 over cosine. Cosecant is 1 over sine. And then cotangent, a couple of ways from cotangent, it's 1 over tangent, or it's cosine over sine. And the idea here isn't like, it's not that you need to memorize all these, it's that the more of these that you know, the more time you could save on the test. So one of the things that I teach are test taking strategies. It's not memorization though, but this will help. This will speed up your ability to do the test. The more time you have, the more questions you can answer and so on. But these are all fair game. Like I could reasonably ask you something like this. What is 1 plus the tangent squared of pi over 4? All right. And to do a problem like this, you've got to know how to find tangent, because tangent isn't on your unit circle, right? It's you might know, let me grab this in. Like you might say, okay, I know tangent is sine over cosine. It's y over x. So that's 1 plus y over x, or square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, all squared here. Okay. Now, what's nice about this problem is that this reduces to 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. But let's say I asked you to do 1 plus cotangent squared of pi over 4. And let's just look back at what we did in the previous problem here. Let me see if I can. How would this actually change the answer to the from the previous problem? Like what can you use from the previous problem here, if anything?
Tangent, or I'm not sure.
So it goes back to the reciprocal relationships, and you're correct. Cotangent is 1 over tangent. So the tangent of pi over 4 is 1. If you know tangent, you can find cotangent. You know that's 1 over 1. So these are actually the same in this problem here.
Okay.
Just happens to work out like that. So let's have you try. Let's have you try another one here, or try. Maybe we'll do this one together. Let's say we want to do 1 plus tangent squared of 30 degrees, like this. And I'll snip in that unit circle again. Okay, so tangent is really sine 30 degrees over cosine 30 degrees. So you've got to go to your unit circle and grab those values. What is the sine of 30 degrees?
1/2.
1/2. Cosine of 30?
3. What is it? Square root of 3 over 2.
Good. Okay, and then you square this. Now you have a choice. You can square the top and square the bottom and then divide, or you can like divide and then square. Are you drawn to like one way or another? There's not a wrong answer.
No, I don't mind.
Okay, so I would generally prefer to simplify what's inside parentheses first. So we'll just look at that off to the side here. When you have something on the bottom like this, like a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. And you can see on the bottom there, everything cancels. On the top, the 2's cancel. So it ends up being 1 over the square root of 3. Is that clear?
Yeah, that's clear.
Good. So that's everything inside parentheses. So the square root of 3 squared. How do you reduce something like this? You've done something like this earlier today. How would you tackle something like this?
Square 1 and root of 3.
And what is this? What is the square root of 3 squared? What does that become?
It becomes 3.
Good. So this becomes 1 plus 1 over 3. And then on the left here, you can make this a common denominator, 3 over 3 plus 1 over 3, 4 over 3, like that. Any questions on kind of this process, how we start with the tangent, go find the angle?
I think I got it. I wrote it down.
Okay, let me have you try one here. This will close out probably our last problem day. Let's do tangent squared 60 degrees minus 1. And let me see. Yeah, there it is. I'll have that unit circle there. So go ahead and work this out. Let me know what you come up with. And please ask questions if anything is unclear along the way.
Okay. So I have the sine of 60 and cosine of 60 over each other, but I'm having trouble simplifying.
Got it. So here, do you have something like this, square root of 3 over 2 over 1/2?
Yeah.
Now you can again multiply by the reciprocal. And again, what that does is it cancels out a lot of
Okay.
things. So it ends up being the square root of 3/1 squared. Why don't you finish the problem off from here and give me your final answer?
Okay. Two.
It is 2. Very good. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just stop right here for